Brock Purdy has absolutely taken the league by storm with what he is doing this season in his early career. And he's absolutely shocked and surprised everyone. Not one single person can tell you that they saw this coming from Brock Purdy. They may have liked Brock Purdy, they may have seen signs and glimpses of what he could bring to the table, but no one could project what he is doing now. Nick Bosa joined 95.7 The Game's morning show and was asked about, like, Brock Purdy. When did you notice him in training camp? What did he pop for? Was he a guy who like stood out to you? And I love Nick's response. I love how he talked about like his thought process of Brock Purdy when he came in as a rookie and all these different types of things. I'm going to let you listen to it and then we will react to it on the other side because I have a very similar story as well.
Brock Purdy obviously is playing, if not some of the best football in the world at the quarterback position. He's just on fire. We saw what he did last Sunday. We've seen what he's done all season. What was your first impression of Brock Purdy when you first saw him at training camp a season ago?
Oh, man, I don't even know because, I mean, you're not really – not that you're not paying attention to a human being, but you're not, like, super locked in on the third-string quarterback. But he was a nice kid and seemed like a pretty talented practice squad guy. But you're talking about last year, right? When he came
last year when he first – because, like, nobody knew. Like, I remember everybody's talking about, Trey Lance and Jimmy being on the side field. Nobody really brought up Brock Purdy. Next thing you know, he mixed the roster. And then all of a sudden the Miami game happens, and he's thrust into the role of starting quarterback, and he leads you guys to a victory against Miami and then lights up Tampa Bay the next week. We're like, wait a minute. Who's this kid? I didn't think much of him, Nick. So I'm wondering, when we hear from like guys like Trent Williams and Fred Warner, they say, boy, we thought he had it. We were excited to watch him at practice, but I just wonder how much you watched him at practice because I know you're on the sled with Chris Kosaric and the rest of the defensive linemen. I didn't think a lot of people even noticed him, like you said.
Yeah, no, I don't. I, for one, did not notice. I mean, it's so hard to tell if guys are going to pan out in the league when they're first-round picks, so it's not like we drafted a guy number 3, and we had Jimmy, who's done a ton for us. So I'm obviously wondering which one of those two is going to be the guy. So not Brock, but I think it's one of the most pleasant surprises of my life. Brock Purdy coming in here and being an MVP caliber quarterback and just such a humble, good dude. And a lot of people change up when they have success, and that's definitely not who he is. So he just keeps impressing week in and week out. It's really an unbelievable story.
I love that. Nick just was like, he's the third string practice squad guy. Like, whatever. Like, how do you really probably didn't pay 2 cents, too much mind to Brock Purdy. And that's exactly how I was as someone who was covering that training camp. In my brain, it was Trey Lance and Nate Sudfeld who were going to be the top 2 quarterbacks. Nate Sudfeld was paid $2 million a year to back up Trey Lance. And so that's who I thought was going to be the quarter. That's what I thought it was. We had the Jimmy Garoppolo situation going on with the side field stuff. And Brock Purdy, admittedly, was someone that I liked throughout this draft process. I've talked about this story many times. I talked about it on the day that he was drafted. I stumbled onto Brock scouting one of his tight ends, someone that caught my eye at the combine. And so I liked Brock, but, I liked him as Mr. Irrelevant. I liked him as the last pick. I liked him as a camp arm. I liked him as a developmental guy. Never once did I think that he was going to be what he is today. So I find it, I'm glad I'm not the only one who kind of felt that way. It feels like Nick Bosa was like, I was completely taken back by what he's doing now. And based on his first impression of him, in training camp and all these different types of things. And it's crazy how Brock got his start, man. Like, this really is some legendary stuff that we are witnessing in real time. With everything that has happened. I know the season is going by really, really fast, but if you take a second to stop and just kind of like do a quick little inventory of how he got here, what Brock is doing is crazy, and how he's got here is crazy. And man, just unbelievable what he's been able to string together in his short time in the NFL. He's doing things that rarely any second year quarterback does, let alone Mr. Irrelevant does. No Mr. Irrelevant has ever done this. No, like undrafted free agent quarterbacks, late round picks, etc. It's a very short list of guys who have made an impact at that position. So I just love what Nick Bosa had to say. Shout out to the guys at 95.7. I dropped the link to the full interview in the description if you want to watch Nick Bosa's entire interview. He talks more than just Brock Purdy. But if you want to find that, it's in the description below. It'll take you straight to the whole video and the whole interview. And I want to hear from you guys. What did you think of what he had to say about Brock Purdy? What was your first impression of Brock Purdy? I want to see some origin stories from the fans in the comments. What is your Brock Purdy origin story? When did you first like see it? Like, oh, was it in training camp? Was it in preseason? Was it in that Dolphins game? Was it a couple weeks later? Was it this year? When did you have your Brock Purdy light bulb moment? I want to hear from you in the comments. Let me know. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.